Hello class, this is Mr. Parsons. So I just want to take a few minutes to talk to you about dimensional analysis. And so when we're looking at dimensional analysis, we want to expand our concept from literal equations and user formulas to dimensional analysis. That's just when we want to convert between different units of measures. And so when we convert between different units of measures, we want to think about like your conversion factors and things of that nature, so that we can convert from one unit of measurement to another unit of measurement. And so what we're going to do is we're going to look at some examples to show us how to do that. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look. So we want to do a conversion factor in this example. It says Mark is purchasing an above ground swimming pool. The salesperson says the pool will hold 97,285 liters of water. If 1 gallon equals 3.785 liters, approximately how many gallons of water will Mark pool hold? So we have to use this conversion factor of 1 gallon equals 3.75 liters. And we're converting from liters to gallons. So what we need to do is we need to set up our conversion factor. So what we want to do is, we know that we got the pool is 97,285 liters. We know 1 gallon is 3.75 liters, so we want to multiply, all right, this conversion factor. When we do that, notice what happens. Like your liters cancel out, all right, because liters divided by liters cancels out, all right, because when we multiply this is actually saying 97,285 liters times 1 gallon over 3.785 liters. Think about your denominators, liter divided by liters. That unit is going to leave you with gallons. So now what's left is 97,285 times 1, which is 97,285. Divide that by 3.785, because that's a fraction. All right, that's going to give you approximately 25,703 gallons. And so that's how much Mark's pool will hold, approximately 27,703 gallons. All right. Let's take a look at these examples to help us using our conversion factors. All right, so let's look at number 1. We want to convert 100 millimeters into inches. So we look at our conversions. The things that we need is, we know that 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, and we know that 10 millimeters equals 1 centimeter. What we need to do is, we need to start from the unit we at to get to the unit that we need. So we have to start from millimeters. So we got to, if we at millimeters, let's start at millimeters. So from millimeters to centimeters, and then we got to move from centimeters to inches. Okay, and so we just multiply our conversion factors. We'll set it up as a proportion. All right, so 100 millimeters times 1 centimeter is equivalent to 10 millimeters. Make sure that the numerator that you're multiplying the numerator of the unit by the denominator of the same unit. What that does, it cancels the unit out. All right, so notice numerator, denominator, numerator, denominator. All right, so what's going to happen is, when I multiply this will be 100 millimeters times 1 centimeter divided by 10 millimeters. Millimeters divided by millimeters, it cancels out. The unit is gone, leave you with just 100 centimeters, all right, over 10 millimeters times 1 inch over 2.54 centimeters. So now what we do is, now we take this next conversion, and then these 2 centimeters cancel out, leave you with just inches. So basically, if I had to really like condense the explanation, you're multiplying the numerators together, you're multiplying your denominators together. You're doing 100 times 1 times 1, which is 100, and then you're doing 10 times 2.54, which is 25.4. So basically, this is 100 over 25.4 when you multiply it. All right, because when you're multiplying your fractions, you multiply the numerators together, you multiply your denominators together. So if I do 100 over 25.4, which is the same thing as saying 100 divided by 25.4, that gives you approximately 3.94. Actually, in your calculator, it's like 3.937007. If you round that to the hundreds place, you get 3.94. All right, let's take a look at this one. Convert 32 years into hours. So we're going from years to hours. So we need to look at our conversion chart. Let's see what will help us here. We know that, well, there's 365 days in a year, and there's 24 hours in a day. So we started at years, going to hours. So we want to multiply 32 times 365 over 1 year, because remember, the unit, 1 unit has to be in the numerator, 1 unit has to be in the denominator, so they can cancel out. Look at your days. 1 unit has to be in the numerator, and that other in the conversion, it has to be in the denominator, so the unit can cancel out. So really, all you're doing is you're multiplying 32 times 365 times 24, and once you do that, all right, you're going to get 280,320, because 1 times 1 is 1. So years cancel out, days cancel out, and if I multiply 32 times 365 times 24, that gives me 280,320 hours. So that's how many hours are in 32 years. Okay, let's look at this third one. Convert 12,345 millimeters into kilometers. So let's look at our conversion chart here, see what's going to help us. We see that 1,000 millimeters equals a meter, and 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. So let's go ahead and start. We got to start from where we at. We got to start from meters, work our way up. So from meters, all right, I'm sorry, millimeters to meters, and meters to kilometers. So we know that there is 1 meter for 1,000 millimeters. We set that up. 12,345 millimeters equals 1 meter is equivalent to 1,000 millimeters. Notice these units, one is in the numerator, one is in the denominator, so that they can cancel out. And then from meters, we can convert that to kilometers by saying that 1 kilometer is equivalent to 1,000 meters. Notice this unit is in the numerator, this is in the denominator. This is going to cancel out, leave me with the unit that I want, which is kilometers. So now what you do, just multiply your numerators and your denominators. 12,345 times 1 is 12,345. 1,000 times 1,000 gives you 1,000,000. So you got 12,345 over 1,000,000, all right, as a fraction. Divided 12,345 divided by 1,000,000, all right, that's going to give you 0.012. So 0.012 kilometers is our equivalent to 12,345 millimeters. All right. Let's take a look at this example here to help us to make sure we know what we're doing. For the chefs to prepare the dishes for the next hour, Adelina needs to provide them with 96 cloves of garlic. However, she only purchased bags of whole heads of garlic. So this is what's important here. Each bag contains 3 heads, and each head has 8 cloves. How many bags of garlic should she purchase? So think about it. She needs to provide her with 96. She purchased in bag. 1 bag contains 3 heads. 3 heads has 8 cloves. I mean, each head contains 8 cloves. So let's look at this question here. What is the assumption that we must make in calculating? Well, if each bag has 3 heads, 1 head tells us has 8 cloves. So it should be 8. All right? Because each bag has 3 heads of garlic. We know that. But we're looking at the bags. How many bags she needs to buy? So we're looking at specifically the clove. So we're looking at that particular unit of measurement. Not the heads of garlic, but the cloves. Now let's look at part B. How many bags of garlic should Adelina purchase? So think about this for a second. Let's convert this, all right? We know that if 1 bag has 3 heads and 1 head has 8 cloves, if 1 head has 8 cloves, then 3 heads has 24 cloves, right? So we can convert this to saying 96 times 1 bag over 24 cloves, all right? And so we can just multiply. 96 times 1/4, which is the same thing as saying 96 divided by 24, which gives you 4. And so your answer will be A. Let's look at this one. All right. A recipe calls for 20 fluid ounces of milk. If Nina buys half a gallon of milk, how many batches of that recipe can she make? All right. So 8 fluid ounces equals a cup. And so let's take a look at this to help us out. So we need 20 fluid ounces of milk. How many batches can we make? All right, 8 fluid ounces equals a cup. So what we want to do is we want to use our conversion factors to help us. So let's use our conversion factors to help us. All right. So we know that 1 gallon equals 4 quarts, 1 pint equals 2 cups, 1 quart equals 2 pints, and 1 cup equals 8 fluid ounces. So we're trying to convert here. So we want to do a half gallon, all right? And we got to go from gallon to fluid ounces. So we got to go from gallon to quarts, all right? So there's 4 quarts in a gallon. Notice my gallons cancel out, all right? And then there's 2 pints in a quart. Notice your quarts cancel out. You got to have 1 unit in the numerator, 1 unit in the denominator. And then there's 2 cups in the pint. Notice your units cancel out. And then there's 8 fluid ounces in the cup. Your cups cancel out. So you're going from gallons to fluid ounces. Now that you have your conversion set up in the order, multiply your numerators together, multiply your denominators together. 1/2 times 4 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 4 times 2 is 8. And 8 times 8 is 64. 1 times 1 times 1 times 1 is 64. 64 over 1 is 64. So a half gallon of milk gives us 64 fluid ounces. All right. And so now we want to take that 64 ounces of milk. It says each batch calls for 20 fluid ounces. So the number of batches she can make divided by 20 fluid ounces. So we want to do each batch is 20 fluid ounces. So we take that 64 fluid ounces times the 1 batch over 20 fluid ounces. Hey, that cancels out that unit, leaving the batches that we're trying to look for. So we just multiply 64 times 1, which is 64. We got 64 over 20. 64 divided by 20 gives you 3 2/10 or 3.2 batches. So Nita has enough milk to make 3 batches with 0.2 left over. All right. Let's take a look at this here. On average, a dairy cow produces 832 ounces of milk each day. How many gallons of milk does the dairy cow produce each year? So what we need to do is first convert. We don't want to start with the ounces, we want to start with the days. All right. There's 365 days in a year. All right. And then we multiply that by 832 ounces per day. And what that does is cancel out the days. And then we multiply that by 1 cup over 8 ounces. That cancels out the ounces. And then we multiply 1 quart over 4 cups. All right. That cancels out the cups. And then we multiply the 1 gallon over the 4 quarts, and it cancels out the quarts, leave you with gallons in years. So what we do now is we multiply our numerators, 365 times 832 times 1 times 1 times 1. All right. And then we multiply our denominators, which is 1 times 1 times 8 times 4 times 4, which gives you 128. So you have 303,680 over 128. If you divide 303,680 divided by 128, you're going to get answer choice B, which is 2,372.5 gallons per year. All right. So when you're doing a dimensional analysis, you want to start from the unit that you're starting from, and then use your conversion chart to set up your proportions to the unit that you want. Make sure that 1 unit is in the numerator, the other unit is in the denominator, so they can cancel out. Once you set it up, multiply all your numerators together, multiply all your denominators together, and then just divide. And then that'll give you your conversion. So I hope this helps with dimensional analysis.